Oh boy, that was a brutal second half for the 49ers. The summary is 12 penalties for 99 yards. I mean, I was on at halftime, and it was clear the 49ers had the more talented roster, were better on both lines of scrimmage, had better quarterback play throughout the first half, and they just completely squandered that with 12 penalties for 99 yards. Most of those penalties from their defense. I lost count of how many personal foul penalties there were there. It was just a complete lack of discipline at some point. I mean, you could say early on, Dre Greenlaw didn't deserve that first slip and slide penalty. But, as stuff continued moving forward and the 49ers started extending drives with all those flags. I mean, there was a holding penalty against Charvarius Ward with Dante Pettis as the receiver that extended a drive. It was just inexcusable stuff for the 49ers as this game pushed forward. So, it led to a domino effect. Penalties kept the Bears on the field, and then the Bears were able to get some fluke plays. I definitely consider the Pettis 51-yard touchdown to be a fluke play. I mean, it was a broken play. He's wide open on one side of the field. But if you give the opposition enough chances, then eventually something weird is going to happen, especially in a monsoon. And that's exactly what happened today. So 100 yards of penalties, fluke plays started happening. And, to me, it was an interesting dynamic because I talked at halftime about how the Bears were afraid to pass against the 49ers pass rush in those conditions. Finally, after they got enough chances because of all those penalties, the Bears just decided, okay, I guess we just have to pass. Otherwise, we're not going to win this game because we're just running into a wall. We're getting bailed out, penalty, penalty, penalty. 49ers are helping us out. Why don't we just try to toss it downfield? And when they did, guys were just wide open. I mean, you had the Pettis touchdown. You had, the 51-yard Pettis touchdown. You had a couple other big gainers down the field, including another score for the Bears. All of those were busted coverages. It's like the 49ers secondary didn't have to cover in the first half because the Bears were afraid to throw. So the 49ers got stuck in cement. Their feet got stuck in cement during the first half, and they couldn't cover at all. And finally, the absence of Jimmy Ward, you could see how important Jimmy Ward is to the 49ers. I think that absence of Jimmy Ward really came back to hurt the 49ers in the second half. And, we could leave it up for discussion. We talked about it at halftime. Why aren't the Bears throwing the football? Yes, they were afraid of the pass rush, but Jimmy Ward, it might be the 49ers' most important player, especially on the back end, the way that he glues the back end together. The fact that the Bears didn't try to exploit that, even try in the first half, was confusing. And then they did exploit it in the second half. So penalties kept the Bears on the field, and then the busted coverages allowed the Bears to, make hay, take the lead. Now, Trey Lance on the other side of the ball, he did a lot of good stuff today. This is not the game to talk about Trey Lance's accuracy or lack thereof. It was a literal monsoon, especially there toward the end. It was hopeless once they fell behind 19-10. This is a game that you had to have under control once that monsoon did start. The Bears had it under control, and the 49ers didn't. In the first half, I thought Lance actually delivered the ball really well on some of those intermediate routes. I thought that, he was off on a couple of the intermediates. Of course, he missed the tight end Tyler Kroft. That ended up being a painful miss in the first half. Then it got so wet that, you just have to throw some of that eval out the window. I didn't blame Jimmy Garoppolo for how wet it was against Indianapolis last year. I know a lot of people did, but it's just not realistic to expect great quarterback play in those situations, and we probably shouldn't be too hard on Trey Lance given the conditions in this game. Positives for the 49ers, I thought the pass protection was actually okay. I thought that Lance is a gamer. He runs like as physically as Deebo Samuel, which probably means that it's a good thing that the 49ers have a backup as good as Jimmy Garoppolo, because if Lance keeps on running like this, it's just hard to imagine him not getting dinged up. And he had a decent feel, I thought, for the pass rush. He picked up a few first downs with his legs. He has heart, and we saw that for the first time against Arizona last year in his first start. And I think that's going to go a long way, and it will serve the 49ers a long way, but he still has to get more comfortable from the pocket. Maybe his most impressive delivery from the pocket at the NFL level came to Dwelly there in the fourth quarter, where he kind of just hung in there against the pass rush, stepped up, hit Dwelly in the third down. But then the very next pocket delivery from Trey Lance was his worst, where he sat there in the pocket, telegraphed the throw underneath, and Eddie Jackson intercepted it. So you took the good, you took the bad. That's been the Trey Lance experience, right? We've had the good, we've had the bad through training camp, and now as we watch the 49ers, we'll see if they can get more of the good and less of the bad. But when you talk about shepherding Trey Lance, right, the 49ers theme entering this season was, hey, we understand that Trey Lance is going to have growing pains. We understand that this is not going to be totally smooth sailing. I mean, how could it be? He's a 22-year-old starting at the NFL level as QB1 for the first time. So the 49ers said, we believe in our defense. We believe in our special teams. We believe in the offensive talent around Trey Lance. And because of that, those phases of the game need to shepherd Trey Lance, need to lead the way, at least for the first part of the season, as Trey develops. So, because the 49ers didn't do that, and I would say 12 penalties for 99 yards is the opposite of doing that. I would say fumble by Deebo Samuel is the opposite of doing that. The 49ers didn't lead the way for Trey Lance. I never expected Trey to have to lead the way, and the 49ers thrust him into that position in the middle of a monsoon in the fourth quarter. So it's not fair to him as a 22-year-old, first-time QB1 in this game to be thrust in that spot because of the undisciplined play from the 49ers in other phases of the game. So you just have to zoom out and look at this in the big picture. Are the 49ers going to commit 12 penalties a week? Probably not. If they do, they have serious problems and they're going nowhere. No team in the NFL is going to win games if they're committing 12 penalties a week. So the 49ers have to regroup. They have to come home against Seattle next week. It's a long season. It's a marathon, and it's not a sprint. And they have to play more disciplined football. They have to avoid losing the takeaway battle and losing the penalty battle. And if they play disciplined football at home and presumptively good conditions against Seattle, we may have our first real eval chance of Trey Lance, because I'm certainly not doing it in the middle of a monsoon in Chicago. Anyway, I mean, I don't know if you guys want negatives or positive or whatever. I'm just telling it how it is. I think the bottom line is the 49ers are clearly strong along the defensive line. I think they clearly need Jimmy Ward back. And I thought that I saw a little bit more from that offensive line today in pass protection than I thought I would see. But the penalties just set the 49ers so far back and behind schedule, and combined with that rainstorm to make this a throwaway game. They're 0-1. The world isn't ending. They're moving forward to Seattle next week, where you want to see some improvement as far as discipline goes in dry conditions. And there's a reason why titles are not won and lost in week one. A lot of weird stuff happens in week one, and I think that it was apparent why it happened in this game just based on the 49ers giving the Bears so many chances. And somebody just said the 49ers can run the ball. I thought they could run the ball, but then just fell behind schedule. Right? You turn the ball over, and then the defense lets the Bears offense out onto the field way too long because of the penalties. Then you fall behind. It's a monsoon. You're rushing. That's where the running game starts to hurt, right? We're going to find out about Elijah Mitchell and all that pretty soon. So I'm going to get going right now. I'll check in with you guys after we talk to Kyle Shanahan, get some insight from the 49ers locker room. But it's simple. It's 0-1, and the 49ers will try to move to 1-1 next week when it's not raining as hard as it was today. And they hope that they could play more disciplined ball, because the penalties, 12 for 99 yards, derailed them today. All right, everybody take care.